Hey everyone, welcome to another video. So today I'm doing something a little bit different, and instead of posting something with my art, I will be doing a bullet journal review. So if this is something that you are not interested in, feel free to exit the video, but rest assured that I will go back to posting about my art starting with the next video. So for those of you who have been following me for some time, you've probably learned that I like doing bullet journaling in addition to my art. I've been bullet journaling for the past 3 years. I'm about to start my 4th bullet journal, and I figured that it was time to look into getting a new one. So the first 3 bullet journals were done using the Leuchtturm 1917 B5 dot grid notebook, which is what I have right here. This is actually my current bullet journal. And as much as I love this bullet journal, it has a lot of pages, it's very lightweight, and it's very portable. It was starting to get frustrating with the 80 GSM pages because they're very thin, and as you could see, anything can really go through it, markers, even pens. And so I figured, it's time to look for a bullet journal with thicker pages so that when I do my 2-page spreads, the designs aren't being seen from the subsequent pages. And so how this journal review is going to go is I'm first going to just give a broad overview about the 3 journals that I will be reviewing and their similarities. And then I will go into more depth with each bullet journal, kind of giving their specs, and then showing you guys a pen test where I tried out different supplies and see how they perform on the paper. I will also post comparison photos at the very end of the video, since sometimes it is difficult to capture some of these things based on, the lighting and my camera. And after that, I will just kind of give my final thoughts and things that I personally consider when buying a bullet journal. And my whole goal of this is to be as comprehensive as possible so that if you're considering getting a bullet journal or thinking of getting a new one, hopefully this can give you some insight and help you make a better decision as to which bullet journal might be the best for you. And so in terms of the overview, so I will be going through the Tsuki bullet journal by Notebook Therapy, the Archer and Olive B5 signature dot grid journal, and then the QiHeng Stationery journal, which I believe has recently been renamed the SEQES notebook or SEQUES notebook. Hopefully I've pronounced that correctly. I do want to mention that these 3 bullet journals I had bought with my own money. I was not sponsored or asked to do reviews for any of these, and so these are all my own opinions, my own experiences, and I will try to be as unbiased as possible when talking about these different journals. I will also do timestamps in the description, since this will be a longer video, so in case there was only a specific thing that you wanted to see in the video, feel free to check out the description to see the timestamp so you know where in the video that is. And so without further ado, I'm just going to move this over. I'm just going to keep this in the corner because it has all of my notes about these bullet journals, just to make sure I don't miss any of the important details. So kind of an overview, all 3 of these journals are 160 GSM. They are 0.5 centimeters or 5 millimeter dot grid journals in terms of the width and the height of the squares. None of these have numbered pages, and they don't have any pre-printed pages like indexes or table of contents. These are all just purely dot grid paper, compared to the Leuchtturm 1917, where you do have numbered pages, as well as a table of contents where you could write things and like where their pages are and whatnot. All of these have an elastic band closure in order to keep your notebook together if you're traveling with it or have it in a bag or anything, to prevent it from opening up. These are all lay flat journals, which means that when you open this journal to any page, that you can kind of fold the pages back, and the pages are going to stay down instead of like trying to fight these pages because they keep wanting to close up on themselves. And so all 3 of these journals are 180-degree lay flat journals. They also all have bright white pages, no cream color, no off-white. They all claim to be bright white, and I found that to be the case. But something that I did want to point out is the Archer and Olive seems to be slightly blue-gray in the hue compared to the other 2, and I will try to capture that on the camera, but again, it's not super noticeable, and I feel like I only noticed it because I had these other 2 to compare it with. And so the Archer and Olive is the one at the very top, And I feel like during the daytime, I do not really realize this bluish gray hue, again, unless I'm comparing it with the other two journals, and it's more noticeable when it's in dark light or dim light settings. All of these journals do have rounded covers, which helps in terms of damage control. So rounded covers, I guess it's less likely to accidentally bend the covers or get it squashed if you're putting it in a book bag or with other things. They're all hardcover, and then I will go through the pen test, but something that I did notice about all of these is that they all handle gouache the same way, and unless I specifically mention a certain thing about the pen test for these books, they all performed fairly equally in terms of the supplies. And so I'm going to start with the Tsuki bullet journal. So this bullet journal is by Notebook Therapy. It is an Asian stationery company, and this book goes for $25.98, and that's in US dollars. This book came out, I believe, fall of 2019, so it's fairly recent. And when I bought it, it was 25% off because it was their brand new launch. So it came out to be, I think, under $20 when I had bought it. I will show the cover. So this is the Tsuki Bullet Journal logo. And then it also mentions that on the spine with the Tsuki Bullet Journal. And then it says Notebook Therapy. And then on the back, designed in Tokyo. The inside cover, again, it just says Tsuki Bullet Journal by Notebook Therapy. They have space for you to write your name. And then they've got their website at the bottom. And then on the back cover, they do have a quote. And again, with their signature moon logo. These Post-it notes I put in here by myself. This is not provided by them. They do have a back cover. And you get free sakura or cherry blossom flower stickers with your bullet journal. So in terms of specs, this is 135 millimeters by 195 millimeters, which roughly translates to 5.3 inches by 7.67 inches. Of the three journals that I'm reviewing today, this one is the smallest one, whereas the other two are B5 size. And so hopefully I could fit that on screen. So it is a little bit smaller than the other two that I will be reviewing. This journal does have gilded edges. So the color that I have is called Pink Sakura, and so it has rose gold gilded edges. Currently there are two other designs. So there's Mint Matcha, which is kind of a pastel bluish green design, and that one has yellow gold pages. And then their latest one, which is a nighttime limited edition where the cover is all black and it's kind of galaxy themed, that one has copper gilded edges. The cover is handcrafted vegan leather. It has 128 pages or 64 separate sheets. And you get 24 by 35 squares on each page. For the Pink Sakura and Mint Matcha covers, you get one bookmark. I believe the nighttime one comes with 2 bookmarks, and then these do not have a pen loop. And of course, because this is the smallest out of the 3 that I'm reviewing, it is the most lightweight. In terms of the pen test. So the pen test, I tried to make it identical across all 3 bullet journals. And so I tested out the Pentel Energel X, which is my go-to pen, the Muji pen, the Lay Pen Drawing, which I use for my line arts, the Derwent Graphic Line Maker, the Sakura Micron, the Uni Pen Fine Liner, Crayola Super Tip Marker, the Uni Posca Paint Marker, the Zebra Metallic Brush Pen, the Tombow Dual Tip Brush Marker, and then acrylic ink, watercolor, gouache, Ecoline Brush Pen, which is their watercolor marker, and then the Ohuhu alcohol marker, which I use as a proxy for any alcohol marker that you might be using for your bullet journals. On the left column, I did just a single stroke on the page, and then on the right side, I did about 3 to 4 coats of the ink, just to see how well it did. And then in terms of the back, so there is really no noticeable ghosting except the alcohol marker, which again, I feel like alcohol marker is going to bleed through almost anything and everything unless you've got specific paper for it, so that was very much expected. I did see a little bit of ghosting with the acrylic ink, but I believe that was more on my part with the amount of water that I was using. So even though these pages are 160 GSM, they are by no means watercolor paper. And so while you could do light washes, if you do multiple washes or add too much water, it's going to soak through the page eventually. And so again, I will post photos of the pen test for all three of these bullet journals at the end of the video, just to compare them side by side. And in terms of anything that stuck out with this pen test, I found that the Tsuki bullet journal was the worst in terms of using acrylic ink. It was very difficult to get the acrylic ink on the page, and then there was a lot of color fading and discoloration once the ink had dried. And so I will actually compare that with the Archer and Olive, since that one had done the best with acrylic ink. And so the Archer and Olive will be on the left side, and the Tsuki bullet journal is on the right side. But as you could see, it is actually a very dark blue color, whereas for the Tsuki bullet journal, it kind of faded into a lighter blue. And in addition to that, I found that the Tsuki bullet journal was actually the best one in terms of watercolor. It was very easy to lay down the watercolor, and I was able to get a really nice gradient. And so that was a huge plus. And so in terms of my final verdict for the Tsuki bullet journal, so this is a very compact, very cute bullet journal. It comes in really cute colors, and it's just, of course, the most lightweight of the three because of its size. In terms of cons, so this one is only 128 pages or 64 sheets of paper, which is the lowest amount of the three journals that I'm reviewing. There are limited designs, so at the moment there are only 3 designs that you could get. There is no pen loop. For me, I really don't care whether or not my bullet journal has a pen loop, but for those of you who may have a dedicated pen, this might be a con for you, that it isn't able to hold a pen for you. And last but not least, there is some questionable durability of the spine. I have not opened this journal that many times, but I found that the spine is already starting to crack along the sides where it's bent a lot. And then there's also some fading of the cover where the binding is kind of rubbing up against other things in my bag or in my suitcase. I'm not sure if this is because it is a vegan leather cover, but just something to think about. I'm not sure how durable this is going to be with multiple, opening and closing of the spine. So just something to keep in mind. Next, I'm going to review the Archer and Olive A5 Signature Dot Grid Notebook. I do want to mention that this is an older version. They do have a newer version of their Signature Dot Grid Notebook, and I will point out those differences. So this goes for $31 to $36 depending on the design you get and whether you want the gilded edges. So before I get into the specs, I'm just showing you guys the design. I got the bellflower design. It's kind of like this gold printing on it. And then apart from that, it is plain on the front and back as well as the spine. And again, it has the elastic closure. And on the inside, you get the signature Archer and Olive floral pattern, and you have a space to put your name. And then on the back side, it's that same floral design. And you get a back pocket, and you don't get any freebies. These are just, this came with the journal in terms of the specs. So this is A5 size, which is 5.75 inches by 8.25 inches. It is a cloth cover. This bullet journal is 100% vegan. It has 160 pages or 80 sheets, but there is an option to do 192 pages, and that one goes for $35. You get 26 by 38 squares on each page. And something I've realized I've forgotten to mention about the Tsuki bullet journal is that the dots for that journal are probably the lightest out of the 3 that I am reviewing. You do get 2 bookmarks with Archer and Olive. These 2 bookmarks are the same color. And with the newer version, one of the bookmarks will actually have the Archer and Olive logo on it to differentiate between the 2 bookmarks. Otherwise, they are identical. And then this one does come with a pen loop. I believe all the Archer and Olive bullet journals come with a pen loop. In terms of the pen test, So again, using the exact same pens as the Tsuki bullet journal and the QiHeng. And I will post photos comparing these side by side at the end of the video. And something that I found with the bullet journal is that there is some more noticeable ghosting for a lot of the supplies that I tested. And again, alcohol marker, which is expected, but of the 3 journals, this one had the most noticeable ghosting. It's not terrible, but compared to the other 2, you can definitely tell where I had laid down my art supplies. And the only other notable thing to mention is that the Archer and Olive bullet journal tended to do the best with the acrylic ink. It was very easy to lay down the acrylic ink, and then the color faded the least once it was dried out of the 3 journals. So in terms of final verdict, so for pros, so the standard size is 160 pages or 80 sheets. But you do have the 192 page option if you're looking for a journal with more pages in it. There are a lot of designs to choose from for Archer and Olive, and I feel like they're constantly coming up with brand new designs. So if you like having that variety, that's something to consider. And if you're vegan or you want to support vegan stuff, this is 100% vegan. For cons, so this is probably one of the most expensive bullet journals out there on the market right now. Again, it ranges from $31 to $36. So the gilded edges, which I realized I had forgotten to bring up, you can get gold or silver, and that will put the price at $36. If you want a non-gilded, so just regular white siding, it's $31. And I do want to point out that the 192 page option is non-gilded only at the moment. And then last but not least, we have the QiHeng Stationery, which has now been renamed the SEQUES notebook. So this is a notebook that I feel like not a lot of people are aware of, is on the bullet journal market. I only learned about this because I saw a YouTube review video looking at 6 different bullet journals that were all 160 GSM, and the QiHeng Stationery one was actually one of them, and it won out of the 6 bullet journals. And so I was very interested in checking this one out, especially, you know, if it was considered the best out of the 6, to be able to compare that with the Tsuki bullet journal as well as the Archer and Olive. The Archer and Olive was mentioned in that bullet journal review where they looked at those 6 bullet journals, and I just felt like, you know, Archer and Olive, it's a very popular brand, so I want to see for myself and be able to give you guys my opinion on that as well. And I feel like, especially with bullet journals that are incredibly popular, sometimes you wonder if it's the hype, and so that was another reason why I wanted to look at the bullet journal from Archer and Olive, was to see whether, you know, the hype was real or if there were things that people should consider before, you know, spending that much money on a bullet journal. But anyways, so going back to the QiHeng Stationery bullet journal, so this one is $16.99 on Amazon. I'm not sure if you could buy it anywhere else at the moment, since this is a Chinese brand. The cover design comes in different animals or different constellations, and for the animal ones, it's kind of like this imprint, so it's textured and bumpy, which is really cute in my opinion. So I got the bear design. It comes in gray. I believe there's like a sky blue color with a squirrel on it. There's a blue one with an owl on it. And then you've got the constellation ones. And so just like the Archer and Olive one, this one is plain on the front, the back, and the spine, apart from the design on the front. And then on the inside cover, it is plain. You have multiple lines to mention, you know, your name or any other information that you want to put on here. And then they also include, you know, as a reward, if you want to give a monetary reward or something in case this gets lost and is found, which I believe Moleskine does that for their books. So that was very interesting. And then on the back, just like the other 2, you've got your back pocket. And then the QiHeng Stationery actually does give you some free goodies. So just like how the Tsuki bullet journal comes with free Sakura cherry blossom stickers, the QiHeng Stationery bullet journal comes with these sticky labels, and they also give you a free pen, which is right here. So it's a very smooth barrel. It's kind of a professional looking pen. I'm not sure if it's the greatest quality since the top keeps getting loose. And I actually had troubles when I first got this in terms of, the pen wasn't opening properly. Everything was loose and unscrewed. But the ink is really nice. It writes very smoothly because it's kind of that gel ink as opposed to ballpoint pen ink. And I believe it is 0.7 millimeters. Yes, 0.7 millimeters black rollerball pen. And so they give that for free. And then obviously, this one has a pen loop, just like the Archer and Olive one. The pages are non-gilded. I don't think there's an option to get gilded edges for this book. In terms of specs, it is A5, so just like the Archer and Olive. However, when I looked at the description with the actual measurements, this one is 5.7 inches by 8.2 inches. So it is slightly smaller than the Archer and Olive, but not very noticeable. I just thought that it was interesting that both of them are marketed as A5, but that the QiHeng one is just a tad smaller. In terms of the cover, it is polyurethane faux leather. It is 160 pages or 80 sheets, which is the exact same amount as the Archer and Olive. And you get 26 by 38 squares per page, which is also the same as the Archer and Olive. One thing to point out, so because this one is slightly smaller, the last the last column of dots actually runs up a lot closer to the edge of the page compared to the Archer and Olive, which I will show. And so the back is the QiHeng Stationery one, and then the Archer and Olive. So you can see there's a little bit more room between the last dot and the edge of the page for Archer and Olive. But again, this is because the QiHeng Stationery one is slightly smaller than Archer and Olive, but has the same number of squares going across and down. I also wanted to point out that the dots for the QiHeng Stationery are the darkest of the three. I will try to do a comparison. So QiHeng in the back, Archer and Olive right here in the middle, and then we will do the Tsuki bullet journal at the top. And I'm not sure how well my camera is going to capture it, but in person, the Tsuki bullet journal, again, has the lightest dots, and the QiHeng Stationery one has the darkest ones. You get two different bookmarks, and unlike Archer and Olive, these two bookmarks are different colors, and they go with the color motif of the journal. And so since this is a gray journal, the two bookmarks are kind of a dark gray and a light gray. I believe the blue ones, it's kind of like a dark blue and light blue, just so you're able to differentiate between the two bookmarks. I had already mentioned that it includes free sticky tabs and index stickers in the back pocket, as well as the pen. And in terms of the pen test, there was really nothing notable in terms of whether it was the best or worst in anything. It kind of took the middle ground in everything. And again, when you look at the back, you're going to see some ghosting from the alcohol marker, but everything else does not show through the back of the page. So in terms of my final verdict for the QiHeng Stationery bullet journal, so this one is the most affordable of the three, and probably one of the cheapest bullet journals that I've seen on the market for 160 GSM and 160 pages. Again, this is $16.99 on Amazon. And then in terms of cons, so I felt like this one was the heaviest of the three. So it is about the same size as the Archer and Olive. But if I were to hold these two next to each other, the QiHeng Stationery just feels slightly heavier. Again, it's not a huge difference. Like, I could barely feel the difference, but it was just something interesting to point out if, that slightest amount of weight is going to, weigh in on your decision. And so in terms of my final thoughts, so I will be using the Tsuki bullet journal for my fourth bullet journal. I just like the way that it's very small, it's very portable, it's very lightweight compared to these other two where, because the pages are thicker, even though it's B5, just like the Leuchtturm 1917 book, they have a lot more pages, they're thicker, and so they're heavier. And so for me, I'm going to be carrying my bullet journal around with me a lot, bringing it to and from home and work. And so I want something that's going to be small and lightweight so that it's not as much of a hassle. Again, with weight and size, you just have to consider how often you're going to be carrying your bullet journal or taking it with you. If it's something that's just going to sit at your desk for most of the day, then maybe you have more freedom in choosing one that's a bigger size or heavier because you're not going to be carrying it around. For the Archer and Olive, so again, this is a very popular bullet journal that's out on the market. I feel like this is the one that everyone says, oh, like if you're looking for a bullet journal, get Archer and Olive. And I understand that, great marketing. It's a female-owned business, and so people want to support that. But again, this is one of the most expensive bullet journals that are out on the market right now, ranging from $31 to $36. And so if you are considering bullet journaling and you just want to try it out, or you're just looking for, a journal to just use and just get by with, maybe this is not the one for you just because of the price range. And I feel like with the hype, people just automatically say, oh, just get Archer and Olive. And it's a great company. I'm not trying to bash Archer and Olive, but I just want to give warning that, there are other bullet journals out there that you don't have to feel like this is the one and only best bullet journal, and therefore that's why you have to dish out the money to get it. But again, it has a lot of different designs, so if you want a wide variety to choose from, maybe consider Archer and Olive. It is a very sturdy bullet journal. I do want to mention that all of these, because of their elastic band, over time you will get some deformations. And so with the, let me just try to find it. Okay, so like the back, you could see where the book or the elastic band kind of went over and put some pressure on there, and eventually I think just because of the nature of these covers being slightly squishy, that if you put pressure on it, it will kind of leave an imprint over time. And so that's just something to consider. Whereas for the Archer and Olive, because it's more of a cloth cover, you don't see that as much, but there is still a little divot or a scoop where the elastic band goes over. Something that I had forgotten to mention about the Archer and Olive is that for this gold design, granted it's not glitter or anything, but if you rub your finger over it, it will slightly come off. Of course, it's not as bad as rubbing your finger over a glitter gel pen, but there are some sparkles I've noticed, dotted around where it's kind of rubbed onto the cloth and just kind of gotten stuck there. So again, Archer and Olive, it's very high quality. You'll feel very professional using it. But if you're looking for something that's more affordable, or you really don't care about the hype around Archer and Olive like this, like you can do without the Archer and Olive. And again, with the ghosting, out of the three that I've tested, this one had the most show through. And so even though people say this is the best journal that's out there, it's just something to consider, that sometimes when there's hype, you just got to be more skeptical of of really checking if this is truly the best one out there. And then for the QiHeng stationery one, I actually really like this one. I thought it was really cute that they, give you a free pen, even though it's fairly cheap, and also free labels. But it's also just a very simple, very affordable bullet journal. I'm not sure if there are cheaper ones that are 160 GSM, but I think for a price of $16.99 on Amazon, if you're looking for a solid bullet journal and, you want one that's B5 size, 160 pages, 160 GSM paper, maybe consider this one. It's very solid. It performed very well on the swatch test. Again, it kind of took the middle road. It wasn't the best at anything, but it also wasn't the worst at anything, and essentially handled all the supplies that I use very well, with the exception of the alcohol marker. But again, that was the case for all of them, where the alcohol marker showed through. And so that kind of wraps up my bullet journal review. If you watched the entire thing, thanks for sticking around. I hope this was really helpful and insightful for you, especially if you're considering getting a bullet journal. If I left anything out, feel free to leave your questions, concerns, comments down below in the comment section, and I will do my best to answer to the best of my ability. And if there are other things that you guys want me to review, let me know, and I will see if I could get my hands on something in order to do the review. And again, I will go back to posting my art stuff starting with my next video. So thanks again, guys, and I will see you in the next video.